And we are back on another Friday. Actually, this Friday is the last Friday of November. That means next week we will basically be into Christmas. Isn't that terrifying? And also quite relieving at the same time. I think we need an early Christmas this year. But the reason I bring up Christmas is because during the festive period, you will most likely be watching a lot of movies, having a bit more free time to read books, and overall, you will be consuming and embracing stories. Now, on Wednesday, I delivered a presentation to about 60 business owners on the importance of storytelling, why we need to use storytelling, because in business, in a business context, it helps us build a very deep know, and trust with our audience. Now, what I want to do today is actually share with you what makes good storytelling. I want to share with you the 3 C's of effective storytelling, because we all know facts tell and stories sell if the story is good. So let's make sure you're delivering good stories. Now, if you're watching this live, put a comment down there if you're watching it on LinkedIn or YouTube, and let me know where you're watching from. Are you in the UK? Are you further afield? If you're watching it on the replay, also put a comment in there. Let me know where you're viewing this from. And if you have any questions as we go through the 3 C's of effective storytelling within the next 10 minutes, put them in and I will answer them live if I can. So let's start with the first C. The first thing which makes a great story is for there to be conflict. You need some conflict in your stories. You see, if you tell a story but then there's no issue, if there's no friction, if there's nothing to get upset about, that story's not going to be very compelling. That story is actually going to be boring. You see, we need conflict for there to be interest. Great to see Peter joining us from Aberdeen. Isabel again from the cozy living room. Fantastic. Great to see you both. So like I was saying, we need some tension. We need some conflict here. And you see this all the time in films. Take The Lord of the Rings, for instance. It would be pretty boring if it was just peace all the time in the Shire. In Star Wars, it'd be quite dull if the galaxy was peaceful the entire time. You need conflict. You need Darth Vader. You need the Eye of Sauron. You need a bad guy, a villain. You need some tension. So what does this mean for us in business? Well, while you're telling your story, share something which has been difficult for you to face. Share an obstacle you had to overcome. Share a problem you faced. Now, this could be a personal problem. It could be something mental, something physical. It could be a company problem. Perhaps the biggest challenge your company faced in the last quarter. But by sharing that obstacle, you get the audience interested because they want to know how you overcame that problem. So you need to have conflict. Make sure your stories are conflict rich. We've got Sarina as well watching from the UK. Great to have you here. Fantastic. We've got a big show today, it seems. Okay, so the second C, which makes great storytelling, is for you to include some characters in your stories. This really brings a real life element to your stories, because it's fine telling a story, but when you bring people into it, when you bring experiences, when you bring moments, that's what brings it to life. Now, in a business context, you could share characters who have had an impact on you. So let's say you're telling a story about how you started your business or how you started your job. You could share with the audience who pushed you in that direction, because we're influenced by someone. We all are. We all have mentors. We all have people we look up to. We all have people we listen to. Share the piece of wisdom you were given, which set you on that path. For instance, when I started speaking in public, I was terrible the first time. I was awful. I was a living, breathing wreck. But after my first attempt, someone in my club came over to me and said, my first time was bad as well. It'd be great if you came back, because I promise you, the second time is always better. And that person's advice, that mentor's advice, actually encouraged me to come back, try again, and eventually do this as a career as a result. So if you can share characters in your story which had an impact on you, that will bring your story more to life. It will keep the audience more engaged, and it might even help in passing wisdom onto them as well. So the third C in compelling storytelling is to make sure that your story has a curve. A curve. Now, what do I mean by this? You see, with every story, there's a start point and there's an end point. Now, a boring story will be the exact same from the start to the end. A great story shows a transformation. Your lead character, probably you, is in a certain state, they're in a certain state of mind, they're feeling a certain way, but by the time they get to the end, they're feeling completely different and usually more positive because of what they have been through. So we need to see a marked transformation. We need to see a marked curve in your character. People in storytelling call this a character's arc. And you see this all the time. Let's take the example of Harry Potter, for instance. So Harry Potter goes along to Hogwarts. Okay, in year one, he's a young wizard. He's just discovered he's a wizard. And, you feel for him, don't you? He's a little boy. He doesn't seem very brave and heroic. But by the time he leaves, he's defeated the Dark Lord. He has become the wizard he was meant to be. He has become the hero he was born to be. So there's a marked transformation. And it took about 7 films for us to get to that transformation. But it happened. So what I'm saying is when you're telling a story about your business, about your experiences, about you, make sure you have a curve in that story. You start somewhere, you're facing this problem, but you learned something, you did something, you heard advice from someone which got you past that obstacle, and as a result, you changed. You changed in terms of what you're experiencing now, your mindset, your outlook on life. You have more knowledge than what you previously had. Share that marked change with the audience because you'll find that that transformation is actually your message. It's actually the message you want to impart to your audience. It's the point of your story. Les Brown, the great speaker, always said, never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. So make sure your story has a point, and make sure your curve shows that point in action. So those are the 3 C's of effective storytelling. The first one is to make sure you have conflict. We need tension. Tension is what keeps us engaged. If there's no conflict, I get bored. If there's tension, I want to know how it gets resolved. Second, characters. Bring in characters who play a key influence on your story, who play a key influence on you, who made a difference to you on your journey. And then third, make sure there's a curve. Make sure there's a marked difference from where you started to where you finished, and tie that in with your key message as well. So like I say, if you have any questions about storytelling, put them in the chat. Even if it's not live, I'll come back to them later on and answer as much as I possibly can. I think storytelling is important. Storytelling is something which is neglected because people don't feel they have a story to tell. But you do. We all have experiences. We've all been through challenges, and you have something of value to share. And if you want more advice on how to tell great stories, well, then you can check out my new book, The 5 Pillars of Effective Public Speaking. On this particular Black Friday, I believe Amazon are doing all of their deliveries for free. So you can buy it and get your delivery for free today only, I believe. Now, this book right here has all my knowledge on public speaking. Everything I know is in these pages right here. And there's lots of tips on storytelling. Right now, it's sitting on 15 reviews on Amazon, and the vast majority are 5 stars. The only 2 which are not are 4. So there must be something half decent in these pages. There's the little one and there's the big one, just for a bit of contrast. But overall, my message today is think about your stories. Think about stories you could share, because that's how you're going to tap in to your audience. And think about how you could bring conflict, how you could add some characters, and how it would be possible for you to show a curve in your stories. Because if you can do that, you're going to get your audience to like you, know you, and trust you on a much deeper level. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great Black Friday, and I'll see you next Friday for the next live I Do. Adios.